But we're going to kick off today with a chat with Joe Connolly from Stakelums. We're delighted to have Joe here today. We've had the pleasure of working with Joe and his team for probably close on 2 years now, well over 18 months anyway, close on 2 years. And it really has been a pleasure working with the team. They're a really innovative, forward-thinking e-commerce team, and they're always pushing us, for new ways of improving. And like many of you here in the room today, that's what we love. We love working with retailers who will push us as well. I think the other great thing about Stakelums is that they have a one store in Nina, so they're not a multi-store. They don't have a huge high street presence, but they do really, really well online. So I suppose we hope that from our chat today that you'll all be inspired by Joe and his team's story and see that it actually, you can be successful online. So we'll kick it off with a couple of questions. I feel like I should have a red book or something here. But look, today, as Paul did say, today is actually the second anniversary of the first lockdown. And many of us were in this room 2 years ago, not realising what we were going to face. But obviously the online channel has had a huge impact over the last 2 years. So you might want to share a little bit of your experience over the last 2 years and how the impact of the online channel has been.
It's been massive. I suppose when lockdown 1 came, we had an existing e-commerce website. It was secondary in our thoughts and in any of the activities or strategies we had in the business. It was there. It was tipping away. We didn't pay too much or enough attention to it. Biggest issue we had with it was it wasn't integrated to our EPOS system, which meant we didn't have live pricing, we didn't have stock levels. Obviously when COVID kicked, lockdown came in, the website, in spite of itself, actually done relatively well and really kind of opened our eyes to the possibilities. And obviously none of us knew when lockdown was going to be lifted proper and what was coming down the track. So from there, look, the catalyst for change was COVID, and we prospected different platforms, spoke with yourselves, and you guided us through the EI application, which helps, soften the cough when it came to funding it. From there, we went live mid-October in 20, and at that stage, I suppose Christmas wasn't allowed to be, there were certain departments, because we've a very disparate number of departments, we were deemed essential in a lot of departments and maybe non-essential in others, and we were definitely complying with public advice. So, we had cordoned off areas of the shop that were deemed non-essential, like Christmas. But we had a lot of stock and we needed to shift it. And we went live mid-October and we were out the gate by the first week of December.
Great. And
that was all online, whether it was click and collect or whether it was being shipped. So that was huge, not to carry that stock into the following year. And again, we had an awful lot of our forward buying done for the seasonal for Garden 21, if you like, but we ended up having to go back to the point that the planning for this season happened in May, June last year.
I was going to say that actually. So has the online channel now really impacted your buying? How you're now buying? You've changed how you're now buying.
Look, we're based in Thurles, not Nina, but it's still in our tip.
Blame Orla for that.
I suppose, look, it opened up a much bigger market to us, and again, because from the product catalogue, I think it was Orla called us awkward at one stage in the early stages because we had so many disparate, whether it's garden furniture, which is obviously on a big pallet, or whether it's a small thing that goes in the box for DPD. But the seasonal side of it has meant that we are now importing directly from Vietnam and China.
Wow, okay.
Where we would have been using, suppliers that would facilitate that, whether it's full container loads mixed or whatever the case is, or you would have been doing maybe CIF, but now we're going FOB with an awful lot of that stuff. Now there's still challenges there because it has brought issues in terms of logistics, as in, storage, warehousing. We've had to apply for planning for a new shed, which the usual story, it's been delayed, but it's coming in the next couple of months. We've had to secure off-site warehouse storage temporarily, and as recent as last week, I had to buy 3 containers, empty boxes off the quays in Dublin just to provide extra storage on site, simply because some of the stuff is rolling in, and it's we're at capacity. But we're confident enough that we have a platform that will allow us
to shift that stock, which is really important. And look, something you alluded to there actually is, and I think something that you've been any really successful online retailer, you know, the online channel has to be not just an afterthought, it has to be part of the overall strategy. And that's something that sounds like in this journey of the last 18 months, you've really embraced that, where you're almost thinking online as much as you're thinking in a physical store.
Yeah, like again, like we'd have our department meetings or management meetings, and then we'd obviously have, you know, for the novelty this year of having a proper marketing meeting, because look, call a spade for the last 18 months, you know, it was a perfect storm. People were coming to us almost. You didn't have to do a lot of the maybe traditional marketing, and this year we're planning on maybe some of the traditional spend towards paper or radio. We still do a lot of top of mind stuff on the radio, but a lot of it's now going digital. But there isn't a conversation that happens either with a department head or senior management that we don't discuss the website. You know, so whether it's an in-store promotion that's now coming up, because again we were loath to start driving people physically in store in the last 18 months. Even when restrictions were lifted, you were kind of conscious not to be seen to be driving people into an area. If they came, that was fine. But the talk now is, how does the planned in-store promotion translate online, or what are we doing online? How's that going to translate in store? Like again, with the website and the exposure we've had with it. This year is our first year. We're going to take a stand and exhibit at the Ideal Home Show.
Okay.
You know, again, we're doubling down on the brand awareness or brand exposure, hopefully, and there's a bit of a campaign around that for the next 4 weeks. So it's been definitely at the forefront of any conversation we've had. Like, again, if you take March 20, when it happened, you know, like we suddenly said, right, we're going to have to re-platform. We need to have the integration with Stock Live and live stock levels and pricing and so forth. But we also decided that we had to, you know, annex a part of the warehouse or the store for an office for the e-commerce team.
Okay.
You know, the e-commerce team was one guy, like, or, you know, at the time, and it was like some of the staff were looking at us going, look, we're under pressure for space. What are you doing taking this? Like, and we were like, oh, well, it's for fulfillment, you know, because we've heard, like, I would have been aware of Paul from Inish Pharmacy's success through Retail Excellence Ireland. You know, I would have heard different people speak in the previous years, and you were kind of going, taking snippets of all them lads and what they were saying. And I think Dairy Gold were also someone we heard speaking about, and I think Gillian was the lady's name, and she was talking about the fulfillment area. And again, it's just, it guided your thought process.
Yeah.
We fed it back to the lads, and some of the lads were kind of going, this is pie in the sky.
Yeah.
But no, it's ended up now, we need more space.
That's great.
You know, so
That's
definitely it has to be part of a strategy from top down, and you need...
You do need that buy-in, don't you?
You do. Like, again, the company that we work for, there's two MDs, two brothers, and they're great and they're hands-on. But if you don't get buy-in from top down, and maybe, again, me as being a general manager, buying into that, it's facilitating a lot of decisions and making it easier to get stuff done faster. Like, we would have had a plan, even with yourselves, for the first maybe 1, 2, 3 years, and we would have went with an essential list of what we wanted from the platform, and then maybe the wish list of what we'd aspire to get, and maybe some of those aspirations were like year 2, year 3, but some of them we've already started implementing in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
And again, it's because we're able to make those decisions quite fast, because the lads see the results.
And they're bought into it.
Yeah,
actually, just speaking of some of those, because I know we do have a lot of our integration partners out there, are there any of the ones that because in fairness, you guys have been very good as well at, you know, timing it right as well, so that, and we would always say this, you know, don't throw everything at the site. You need to know what's working and what's not working. So if you throw everything on a site, you don't really know what's making the impact. So are there been particular integrations that have made an impact that...
Yeah, I suppose, look, the most obvious one is the integration with the EPOS, so it's not a third party that's outside, but I think, look, live stocks and live pricing is massive, and that took a fair bit of pain on Paul's behalf, working with the crowd that we have providing our EPOS, so that's probably the most important one. But after that, we embraced, again, off the success of Paul and the lads and Heavens, the trust piloting was something that we would have aspired to, and so the success that they had, whether it was from a social proof point of view or, you know, people, you know, seeing the referrals, and it also acts as a bit of a kind of a yardstick, you know, should somebody get called out on a review that, you know, the lads back at base, whether it's on the floor or on the e-commerce team, are kind of, you know, it's only 6 inches between the difference between a pat in the back and a kick in the arse.
Yeah,
so
absolutely, yeah.
You know, so it's Trustpilot helps that, you know. We embraced Celebros. Or Celebras.
Yeah, I don't think any of us know how to pronounce that one. We must we'll find out from Erwin today.
We'll qualify that, yeah. You know, but I suppose that's one that has been, you know, probably not leveraged enough by ourselves, and we admitted that in the last number of weeks, that we need to go back. We had one of one of the lads that was with us from the start of this journey has taken a sabbatical, and he, with that, it kind of set us back a little bit. So we're using it as an opportunity now to get back on board, engage with them lads and try and get the most out of that plugin. The other one we embraced was Styla, which is the blog. I know they're not outside at the moment. Now, it's only in recent times we embraced it, but we're looking for, again, from a marketing point of view, with Robert's brief, we have certain plans around activities and awareness and stuff, and we engaged with the likes of Dulux at the start of this year, and they gave us access to one of their esteemed colour consultants, and the lady has done a 6-episode podcast with the local radio station Tip FM. But it's like the acronym COPE, create once, publish everywhere. So that's great. It went out on Tip FM, but now we're turning those episodes into blogs, and we're embedding them in the site, and it'll be unique content. We're just trying to add value within that. And again, it's kind of new. There's not a load of content there, but there's plans. Some of the plans we have for the year involve getting more content up on that. That's hopefully going to add more benefit.
Yeah, because that's something we're going to talk about later on this afternoon, about that whole idea under retention and loyalty, the whole idea of building communities. And I think particularly because you've all probably gained a lot of new customers over the last 12 or the last 2 years, hopefully. So now it's really about how do you hold on to those customers and that idea. And I think that is something that you guys have really embraced, that idea of creating that community.
Robert is going to, I think, touch on that later on. So
great. We leave that one with you then, Robert. I suppose one of the we kind of touched on it there as well. You probably have some new types of customers as well, customers that you would have had before. So you either have the more traditional retail customer who's now going online. You might have had customers who found you online and are now coming in the store. Have you? Or, I mean, that's kind of the experience a lot of retailers have had. Is that something that you found, or have you been able to embrace that?
Yeah, like it's certainly it is omni-channel. Like we definitely have new customers that are coming from way outside our catchment area. And whether it's literally just a straight sale through the shopping cart, and you're going, oh, look, that person in Donegal about that, or what's happening is they're maybe ringing in, they're speaking to the expert in the particular department, so whether it's a wood pellet boiler or whatever the case is, and then they're maybe going back and they're purchasing online. And if not, we're getting a lot of feedback from the lads on the floor. Like there's particularly the Husqvarna Garden Power department that we'd have, where lads are getting phone calls in, and our lads are dealing with them over the phone. And again, we've a system where we can take secure payment remotely via the phone without just taking credit card details. So there's definitely, if you like, attribution coming there. It's very hard to measure it fully, but anecdotally, listening to the lads on the floor, you'll get a summary at the end of the week. I sold X to Y, but he rang in, but he saw it on the website.
Okay.
And again, the click and collect side of things has certainly improved. Like we have lads, sometimes you'd have somebody coming into the shop and they're buying a washing machine and they want it delivered, to Cashel, which is 10-15 minutes away. Even in the town of Thurles, so we'd have a nominal charge just to deliver something. And the lads at the counter would end up delivering it for free and discounting the product. On the website, they're going online and they're paying $23.99 to get delivered up to town and no discount. So there's
that's interesting, actually. I hadn't even thought of that.
I suppose it's convenience, and it goes back to that person wants to get the washing machine, wants to get it delivered, and happy just to get it done, and that's it parked, and they can go about their day. But definitely, the omni-channel side of it is it's all integrated. It's all
and that's certainly, I think, going forward as well. It is like going back to that point about not just thinking of the online as an afterthought, that it does all have to be part of an overall strategy, in order to kind of move forward with
definitely it. It's probably been a real catalyst, and it's been a real re-energizing department. Like it's classed now as a department. Like there's a report run for it, even though it's obviously taking products from every other department in the place, but it's the performance of it, like we have on the old site, if you like, where we were tipping away, we probably now do more in a month than we did in our best ever 12 months on the old site.
Wow.
So like it's that much of a beast, and again, it's still growing. We have internal debates the whole time about department head X wants their product range up, and we're like going, it's not the priority. Everybody's, well, give me a piece of the action. I want to get my stuff up.
And that's great. So they're vying for that. Before they probably weren't even having that conversation, but now they're vying for the homepage position.
We'd one department head, and we were like mid-October, so it was January 21, so we were only maybe 3.5 months with it, and there was great success with the Christmas and so forth, and we were all wide, and this particular department head was like giving us a little bit of earache, kind of going, yeah, you don't care about our department anymore. So we eventually got to that department, and we got more earache 6 months later going, we can't cope with the people that are ringing us. It's like, do you know.
Victim of your own success.
Kind of.
Yeah. And just on that, I know one of the challenges we'd often hear the retailers talking about, and you're very fortunate that you do have a great team with you, but just, you know, I know, the Dream e-commerce team can be a challenge because there's so many different skills required, from fulfillment to merchandising to social media to graphic design to product cataloging. So, you know, I suppose it is a challenge for everybody, but from a mixed point of view, what would you think would be kind of like, would you have any advice on kind of what you should do around your kind of the resourcing?
Yeah, well, I suppose, look, if Robert would have a marketing background, and we're lucky enough that he also has quite a good graphic design skill set. So when it comes to consistency of look within the homepage or the website itself, we're not having to, you know, every time we want to change a graphic, we don't have to go to someone and ask them to create something, and then there's inconsistencies. We have that, so if you could have somebody that could deal with that in store, that would be massive. But in terms of the product cataloging, if you get the site navigation, the category right, focus on the product catalog, it's like the platform is obviously low tech. Most of the lads that are here, I'd imagine, are using it. So like it's quite easy to train somebody up to get it up, and as long as they comply with the consistencies, the naming structures, you know, whatever you set out as being best practice, and that's easily applied. So like, you know your business better than anyone, so you'll know maybe the impacts of certain products being shipped, whether it's liquids or whether it's fragile. You know, so like we didn't hire anybody with an e-commerce background as such.
And they're probably difficult to find, I think, as well. I think that's a challenge that people have.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure, look, labour in general at the
yeah,
moment
it's difficult.
is
It's an overall challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, so look, it's kind of an organic thing.
Yeah. And I suppose we talked about, I suppose, for the plans then for the future, you know, over the next 12 months, kind of what are your thoughts, or what would your ambitions be over the next kind of 12 months? We talked about the warehouse there. Is that kind of really where you're...
It is, I suppose, though, I think there's a lot of challenges in the next 12 months. Like we thought we were kind of at the back of COVID, and now you have issues with that nutbag in
with the war.
Russia, like that's causing untold hassle. Like we're already forecasting issues with, you know, raw material issues, component issues. So again, whether it's the electrical department with the electronics, whether it's something as simple as logs for seasoned firewood next year. A lot of the stuff we'd source would come from kind of Ukraine, Latvia and Poland. And like, obviously you don't know what's going to happen with the Polish side of things. Then there's the whole energy side of it. So look, the website for us will still be, we have an awful lot of stuff bought for Garden 22, so some of it has landed, more of it's on the water, so we're conscious.
Good to know anyone doing their garden at the moment.
Yeah, no hassle once we get the weather, I suppose.
Yeah.
Look, there's an evolving aspirational list that we want to get done this year. As I said, we've managed to kind of start our first normalised marketing calendar, you know, for this year, which we haven't been able to do for the last year and a half because it's been quite reactive. But I think, look, it's if we keep the head down and stay plugging at it, it'll come right.
Great. Look, I'd like to thank you for all your time today, Joe. I mean, we always just think it's great to hear from retailers. It kind of sets the tone for the day because, you know, it's all about you guys anyway. So we would like to thank you for your contribution today, Joe, and you're now off the hook.
Thanks, Willie. Cheers.